Good afternoon on what is a mild, grey and blustery day. It is Thursday, February the 2nd. I'm in the reading Nook with a nice hot cup of tea and a cat who is not ours. Alright. Hey, no biting. Hey. He wants a fuss. What I am going to unbox next is this. My finger on this, it's come from drive-through, so it's going to be fairly sturdily glued. And I keep saying almost every time, and that's come away quite easily. And there's a black book in there. Let's find out what that is. Oh, it is Populated Hexes Monthly, the first year. This is issues 1 to 12. Okay. The first years of Populated Hexes Monthly is composed of 12 issues, each one taking a different hex in the world of Absalom. These hexes can be used as part of a campaign world or are slotted into an existing campaigns as needed. In addition to the counters described within, the following can be found within these pages. New classes: Gripply, Votnan, Binder and Elf. Rules for incorporating spell schools, notes of chaos, mortal wounds and more. Information on the Dreamlands, and rules for exploring their use of fabled lands, and much more. This is an old school Renaissance kind of collection of monthly PDFs. So, what we have inside is, let's just see. Okay. So this is essentially an anthology or a best of kind of collation of a fanzine, ongoing fanzine. And that's sort of become a little bit of a small movement, you know, a printing tendency, a publishing tendency in the old school Renaissance, where people have put out a lot of content, decided that they will collect it from their blog or from their fanzines or and so on, and bring them together in one big book. So this then is the first 12 issues, 12 months of Populated Hexes Monthly. So we've got a giant regional map there, so there's quite a lot to actually explore in those populated hexes, because we're not even drilling down to the hexes yet. And this is where we begin to do that over the page. And then we've got the first hex, which is the Shrine of Darthog. And we've got the Caves of Darthog, or Darthog. I don't know how to pronounce that properly. So you've got a complete adventure site in this one location. It's describing, where it is. You've got it here on the map. Then you expand. So that's expanded there. So automatically, what you've got there is that's a mega hex with all these smaller hexes inside it. And so we have some text descriptions of the location, caves, appendix covering a magical item, and then notes of chaos, arcane magic, expanded, and some details upon a spellcaster's grammary, and notes on spells there, all in the first issue. Some new magic. And yeah, that's it. That's issue 1. Issue 2 begins the same way. We jump across to a different location, doing the same kind of format. And this is the entrance to the Valley of Kings, and you can see it in more detail there. So you automatically have a vaguely pharaonic, ancient Egyptian kind of look to this setting, or at least that valley. And if the one problem with that is sort of like, okay, we have no really don't have an overview of this region. You have, it's great that it's drilling down to these individual locations, and basically it's very. I mean, you sort of like, I think you do have sort of a bit of an overview there, but it's going to be very broad. But what I do like here is essentially you do have a more regional map with the individual locations pointed out there, if you wanted to use this as sort of like a basis of a campaign. So entrance to the Valley of the Kings. Don't really, essentially this looks to be a discussion of how the undead rise there, and how magic works and its contagions, and essentially this is really talking about the undead in the setting rather than giving you an actual location per se. So we are talking about what's the dangers of raising the undead. Well, or specifically in the setting. And then we come to an example undead at the back. So skeletons, zombies, spectres, liches going up from least undead, zombies and skeletons, to through ghouls, lesser undead, spectres greater, and liches, spectres and liches being greater undead. But this is continuing because essentially we have the entrance to the Valley of Kings. So this is quite extensive in fact. So we do actually have a location beneath the halls of mummification, and over the page we have this really rather good map there, which is looking at the complex of the dead. A decent map as well. Just the room, the corridor location. And then again we've got an appendix with new magical items, new spells, and so on, particular to the Valley of the Dead. And then very quickly move on to issue 3. In fact, sorry, this is issue 3. Actually, issue 3 is actually part 2 of issue 2. If that's not confusing, because essentially issue 3 is the actual continuation. So that's my error. I would thought they were getting it through as a bumper issue, but it's not. Issue 4 is the village of Ripley. So again, decent map there. And we've got the Gripley as race as class, and they are frog folk. So they are available as player characters in the area. You've got a greater expansion of the map there. A bit plain, I have to say. There's quite a large region there. There's, which isn't detailed, but it's there, perhaps ready for the game master or referee to create herself, to fill herself. Then we have Hex Cave, the basic cave of the Yetis, the ice cave of the Yetis. Another nice map. I do like the maps in here. Once you draw down to the actual individual locations, are really nicely done. And this is actually quite a short issue, I think, because it is only you are the adventure location. One is just the ice cave of the Yetis, which is that. But you have an appendix there on adventuring in the north, covering our typical sort of environmental hazards and monsters, and here are the list of monsters which you might encounter. Asking the question, why adventure there? New monsters, and so on, and yet more magic, more spells. And we've got a nice illustration to like a port location there, which is that location there, I believe. Sorry, there. Sorry, red on black, red on green. So we've got the gateway to the frozen Nook wastes. That's the 6th location. That's discovering areas like the deep ocean, wandering monsters, and then Ogrim is the city. It's setting itself, the port, and this overall is sort of like has the feeling of a part work. Now, part work is one of those things that, you know, you buy the first issue and you get parts for a kit. If you buy all the parts for the kit, you will have the complete instructions and parts to build yourself a model of the Titanic, for example. You know, or collect all the pieces of a chessboard or whatever. So, you know, this is doing the same, but for a setting with, you know, starting with one location, looking at that, going into another, and sort of like, and there is a sort of sense of them vaguely connecting the dots. Essentially, question, we've got a discussion of templates. Essentially, are condition templates which will affect a character if they are changed in some way. And then we get on to. So one problem essentially, this is actually, that's the map for part 7, and then we've actually got a sort of a closer location over on the next page. Artifacts of the giant folk. I think that sort of like having that separation doesn't quite work, you know, over the page. Should be sort of like opposite, really. So here we are dealing with sort of like the artifacts left behind by the giants. We've got wandering monsters in here. Discussion of the runes. They are used by the giant folk, and some of the effects they will have if triggered or used. So on. Then we have the Gardens of the Rising Sun, even further north there. Okay, but again, this looks a bit like a verdant spot. It's a verdant spot in the middle of the frozen wastes. And here is where you will find the elves and the Fey courts. So we're on to issue. This is issue 6, issue 7, and this is issue 12. Oddly placed. Okay. And then we have issue 8, which is which is the plateau of near the plateau of Leng. So we have sort of like a bit of the mythos thrown in there, references to that, and we have the Haunted Hills. What we've got here is not necessarily, I mean, this is adding more, more elements to the setting in the form of binders, which sort of like, basically people who strike packs with vestiges of ghosts of forgotten gods. So that's an interesting options there, and you have the abilities gained from doing so. So almost, essentially they are the equivalent of pacts with your god or long lost god. We have actually a print-only bonus text on the back there. Issue 9 is the Fool's Ascent, which basically is going to be on the plateau of Leng. And he takes you into the dreamlands there. So you have a combination there with sort of like fantasy and the mythos. So you've got the complete rules of sort of like dealing with the nature of reality in the Dreamlands, XP in the Dreamlands, gaining XP, and so on. And then we have a geography of the Dreamlands. That's a bit more detail there. I presume that's for the next section. Yes, where we get into the dreaming city of Kahbada, or Kahadba, or however you pronounce it, the dreaming city. Another nice map, this time of a city. Some of the inhabitants. More of the sort of like the wilderness location essentially for the Lake of the Dead. And what this actually is, let's have a look. We have dungeon beneath the Lake of the Dead. Actually, that should be that way. Just the strangeness of navigating the dungeon, I think that's going to be really hard to run. And then we've got player maps. So 12 is definitely out of order here. Appendix of player maps, so on, and then explanation of what populated hexes is. So yeah, this is essentially a setting for Old School Essentials, essentially the retro clone published by Necrotic Gnome, based upon the basic Dungeons and Dragons, published in 1980-81 written by Tom Mulvey and Stephen R. Marsh, known as the BX version. So very accessible, very playable, and I suspect this will be, something to build upon. By the referee, adding necessarily her own content, because there's a lot of space in between these locations, but it's an interesting start. Anyway, thanks for watching another unboxing the Nook. If you enjoyed this, then please do click on the like button down below, and of course, if you got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings of the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do hit the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.